Hello and welcome to Dommy Tries This. I hope you brought your cuppa. Today's coffee mug is a limited edition coffee mug from a now defunct website called The Site Fights. It was a place where you could enter your website, you would join a team, and you would enter competition, and people would vote, and the team with the most votes and the website with the most votes won for that week. Didn't get any money or anything like that, but you did get little gifts that said site fight winner and team winner and things of that nature. But yeah, we had entered that with our websites from ages ago, and we were both contestants for a while, and then I became a team leader for a while, and I left for various reasons, but it was a very enjoyable time. I was kind of sad to see it when it closed, that it had closed down a few years after I left. But anyway, it was fun, and they did release these limited edition coffee mugs, and on the back it says The Site Fights. It was I think it was a very innocent way for youngsters to spend time building their websites and promoting their websites and things of that nature. It was a safe way to go. As far as I know, there were no major issues that I ever heard about. So it was just a fun thing to do at the time. Anyway, today's tea is Tazo Passion, which is another new tea to me, and it says it is an exuberant herbal infusion of hibiscus, orange peel, rose hips, and passion fruit flavors. So let's give this a taste. That has a tartness to it that I actually kind of like. That's actually pretty good. It's definitely, it's tart and zingy and fruity and good. That's really good. I'm going to have to keep that one. Definitely. Let's see. So today we are going to discuss some foundations. If you haven't been with my channel for a very long time and haven't gone through all the stuff that is previous, and I wouldn't blame you for not doing it because my older videos are pretty cruddy quality. But I actually have been using the Tarte Amazonian Clay 12-hour, Amazonian Clay full coverage SPF foundation. This became like my favorite foundation, even over the powder foundation that I was using from NYX for a while. And then Tarte had some issues. Tarte had a post that got pulled on Instagram that had some racist identifiers in it, language. Yeah, we'll go with that. And they got called out on that, and they pulled that. And then they released their newest foundation, and they released it in only 10 or 15 shades. And of those 10 or 15 shades, only 1 or 2 could even reasonably be called dark. And when they were called out on that, they said, well, not everybody is dark in the winter. And well, first of all, it wasn't winter on the other side of the world, so I hope that they released more dark colors on the other side of the world, but I doubt it. And that's assuming they released it on the other side of the world at all. And the other thing is, I'm sorry, but African Americans, to my knowledge, are always dark. So that was kind of a bullshit response, if you ask me. And then when they said they would release more shades, and they did, but again, it was only, they said, we're going to release 10 more shades. Well, it turned out to be 5 for each line. They have a matte and they have a more dewy line for that foundation. And again, it just wasn't enough. And there was some other crap that happened around it all, but what it comes down to is this is 2018. You should be releasing you should be releasing 40 shades, 30 to 40 shades whenever you do a release. This 10 to 15 and 10 to 20, no. And your shades should cover the full spectrum and should not make people of color feel like they are afterthoughts. We should be a part of your thought processes from the very beginning. I admit I'm not very dark, especially now that it's wintertime, but I am half Latina. I am half Puerto Rican, and I have a darker skin tone because of that. Now, normally I can find at least the right shade, if not the right undertone. The biggest problem I have is usually finding the right undertone. Undertones tend to, for me, because I get golden brown, the undertones tend to be towards orange. For a lot of African Americans, the stuff that they find, the undertones tend to be red. That's not right. It's 2018. You need to be more inclusive. So as a result of all of that, I am now panning my Tarte items as much as I can. I've got one item I'm trying to work on, and I got to tell you, I'm doing a poor job of it. I'm going to be getting rid of my Amazonian Clay foundation. I'm going to use it up. I'm not buying it again. I'm not buying any more Tarte products, which means I had to replace my brow gel and a few other things that I was using of theirs. But I refuse to send my money to a company that won't be inclusive from the get-go, that has to apologize, quote unquote, for racist remarks. It has to apologize or excuse not including everybody in releases. That just, no, it doesn't sit with me. And I know for a lot of people that's not a big deal, and with my skin tone, maybe it shouldn't be a big deal for some people. Some people look at you and go, but you can look at you, you're lighter, you can probably get just about anything in any foundation. It doesn't matter. I'm still a person of color. I am still Puerto Rican, and I don't want to be an afterthought, and I don't want my sisters to be an afterthought or my brothers to be an afterthought, and I don't want anyone else to be an afterthought. So I've stopped, long explanation for all that, but I've stopped buying Tarte, and I needed to replace my foundation before next winter, essentially, because in the summer I wear powder. Summer I get much oilier, and I don't think most most liquid foundations will stay on my skin in the summer. So I've started looking for some foundations now, and I've got 5 of them here that I'm going to talk about. They were all failures for one reason or another. I did find a foundation that I like. It's not my perfect foundation, but I did find a foundation, and we will get to that. I am not going to do the try on and wear test, because honestly, you can find that anywhere in YouTube from other YouTubers. I highly recommend Too Much Mouth. She has a foundation hunt thing that's going, and you can see how these last on her skin. She has a very oily T-zone and oily inner cheeks. So if you have oily skin, she'd be perfect for you to follow and to go through her foundation hunt videos. So I'm just going to discuss how these foundations worked for me, or not, as the case may be. So let's get started with that. So the first one is this little sample of Marc Jacobs Shameless Foundation. Most of these that I'm going to be trying hopefully will be in my skin tone, but a few of them were point perks, and I believe this was a point perk or a freebie sample from one of my Sephora orders. So those will probably be off, and I understood that when I tried them on, and this is one of the ones that was off. I believe it was too pink. I didn't have any problems with the application. My daughter ended up using this, and so I don't know if there's anything left in here to show you. I think she took it all. Oh, no, there it is. The thickness is fine. It's a little bit looser than I like. It does blend out nicely. As you can see, it's a bit on the light and possibly on the too yellow side. I didn't have very much trouble with it. The biggest problem, it applied well. It's more of I prefer a medium to full. I'd like to be able to build in certain areas where I have certain flaws. I have certain discolorations that I like to cover. So I prefer a medium to full coverage. This was on the lighter side of medium when blended completely out. And it didn't build as well as I would like. But the biggest problem for it was that it showed the texture on my face. And when you're an older dragon, you do not want the texture on your face showing. I'm having some texture problems today and I don't even know why. But yeah, so it was a fail, mostly because it didn't just show texture in the places that I normally have texture issues. It showed texture all over my chin and my cheeks and my forehead. So yeah, no, we're not playing that game. So this was a no. It ended up going to my daughter. She liked it enough to keep using it. And now I think it's about out, but I'll give it back to her in case there's enough in there for her. But yeah, I'll be cleaning my hand in between each of these foundations. So the next two I picked up from Sephora. My daughter and I had gone in to pick up some other things, so I picked up some samples. And one of the things that I don't like picking up foundation, trying to pick out my foundation color online, what I will do is I will see what my color match is. I had to trick the color matcher too. I had to go in with as close to an appropriate color for me in my foundation and have them do the color match against the foundation, because every time they did the color match with the clean face, they came up orange, and I'm not orange, sorry, not orange. So, but what I will do then is I will go in, since neutral and yellow undertones or olive undertones seem to be different in each foundation, I will find my match, my IQ match in the foundation I'm looking at, and then I will look around it for similar but a different undertone. So let's say the foundation says that I'm a honey beige. And honey beige has a golden undertone, which would annoy me to begin with. But anyway, honey beige has a golden undertone. So I will look around at other beiges and find a neutral undertone and a yellow undertone and go in either direction a little bit. And I will put all of those on my loves list. And then when I go in to pick up a sample of the foundation to see if it'll work for me, I have them pick up all the different ones that I put on my loves list. We test them all out on my chest the way you're supposed to. And then me, my daughter, and the salesperson will try to pick whichever one actually closely matches my skin tone for that foundation. And I have found that more often than not, the IQ match is off a little bit. And I don't think it's so much the IQ match at that point is the problem. I think it, like I said, for each foundation, for each company, the different undertones are a little different. So what is yellow for one could be a light golden yellow, and for yellow undertone for another could be a really deep yellow or a different shade of yellow that makes it a different kind of yellow undertone. So I don't like picking up my foundations untried online. I will. There's a couple of them I do that with, but it is primarily drugstore, and I do have to make sure that I can take it back to wherever I need to if it doesn't work. I'm getting much better at choosing my foundations, though, fortunately. Anyway, so these two were the result of going into the store, picking up the samples, and testing them out to find the right ones that actually fit me better. And the sad thing is I will have to go through all of this again in the middle of summer, because I will get darker. My permatan will golden up. At that point, I can almost see using orange. But for now, not so. So the first one of these is the Bobbi Brown Skin Long Wearing in number 4. It's a weightless SPF 15. The application was almost sticky. I felt like I had to, it blended out okay, but I felt like I had to work very fast to do that, to blend it out. I prefer using a brush, and then I follow up with a sponge. As you can see, I used quite a bit of it. This is also a little more on the liquidy side of what I like. It's more loose. I prefer a more moussey foundation. It also seemed primer fussy. I had a mattifying primer that I was testing, and I still need to test it out some more. I stopped because I figured I needed to find my foundation before I kept testing it. But I had a mattifying primer that I tried this with, and it showed all my texture. But when I used it with my NYX Hydra Touch that I really like, put that in the right order, my NYX Hydra Touch, this is one of my favorites. It's very similar to the Smashbox Primerizer. They're very similar. This one's just a little bit, I want to say thicker in application. But this is very good. It's very hydrating, and it's my favorite. This is my second container of this. I love using this. It's my favorite one to use. It is moisturizing. Anyway, when I applied this, the Bobbi Brown over that, my texture did not show. The coverage is on the light side of medium again, and it didn't build well again. So those were kind of problematic. This one has a smell to it I don't particularly like. The unusual thing about this is in between my brows. This is where most foundations make my face look like the Rocky Mountains in terms of texture. And this one did fine. It's I mean, like I said, with the NYX, it doesn't show texture anywhere. So that was really nice. And the fact that it got between my brows without showing texture was really nice. But there's another thing I like to do with my foundation. Like I said, it's on the lighter side of medium. And I actually like to mix my foundation with my First Aid Beauty Coconut Smoothie Priming Moisturizer. And putting this into the Bobbi Brown sheared it out even more, made the building even more difficult. And that odd stickiness from the application remained after it was supposed to have dried down, and even after I powdered it. So I didn't actually feel it on my face. I mean, it didn't feel like I was wearing foundation. But when I touched my face like this, like right now, I'm wearing foundation. It does not feel like I'm wearing foundation. With the Bobbi Brown, it did. And so that's a no. If you're going to have a $45 foundation that's basically supposed to smooth out your skin, I don't want to actually feel it on my face. Didn't look like I was wearing foundation, I don't think, except for when I tried the mattifying. But still, another no. The other one that I got at the same time that I got the Bobbi Brown was the Cover FX Natural Finish in N40. Now, one of the things that I like about the Cover FX is once you find your foundation shade, it's always your foundation shade. So they have a new one out that I actually would like to try. So I would get N40 in that too. So that is one nice thing. Once you find your foundation shade for Cover FX, that will be your foundation shade in every foundation that they come out with. And that is really nice because that takes out having to hunt it down. As you can see, I actually didn't use much. Part of the problem is this stuff smells. This is closer to the texture I like. It's much thicker. It's less watery. Again, it has, this one tends more towards the orange undertone a little bit, I think, than the other two did. It feels heavy going on the skin, but it blends out really nicely. And it's light. It's very lightweight. And I think it's in the middle of the medium coverage, but it honestly doesn't matter. Between the smell and the fact that on me, it actually faded fairly quickly. And I mean faded. I expect to lose foundation around my nose. I have allergies. I expect to have issues around my eyes. My eyes are kind of weepy, for lack of a better word, teary. I don't always cry, but they're always kind of moist. so to speak. So there are spots where I don't expect any foundation to actually last all that long. If you're going to blow your nose, you're going to pull off foundation. If you're going to have to dab underneath your eyes, you're going to lose foundation. However, this one I lost in other areas. And honestly, the funniest thing is I went out the day I wore it. It was a windy day. And that day my eyes did water. And my mascara, which was not waterproof, lasted better than this foundation. So the coverage doesn't even matter. It smells bad to me. And it just doesn't last. So another no. Well, like I told you earlier, all of these are no. So next we have the Dior Skin Forever Undercover. This is obviously another 100-point perk, so I knew that this was going to be off, and I think this one ended up being too pink on the undertone. Again, just a touch loose on the texture, on the consistency I like. Not 100% loose. You can see it's more on the orangey end of things. It blends out beautifully. It dries down quickly. It is a medium coverage, but it doesn't build well for the spots that I like to have covered. It is very lightweight. It has a very nice finish. I actually really like the finish. Not too matte, not too dewy. When you have oily skin, you don't want anything that's too dewy. And I like the feel of it on my skin, actually, which is weird to say when you don't want to feel your foundation, but I did like the feel of it. I liked the way it, the way I could touch my skin and it didn't feel like foundation. It didn't look like foundation. It was a very comfortable foundation. I think there's a difference between just not feeling it and for a foundation to be comfortable, and this one was comfortable. However, it also had a strong smell that I didn't like. I probably could get past that, but this is expensive. It would have to be 100% perfect for me to get it. And since it didn't build well, and since it has the smell, it's not 100% perfect, and I'm not spending, what is it? Is this one $54, I think? I'd have to look at it, but it was pretty expensive, so no, not paying the price for something that's not perfect. My Tarte is around $40. Getting much higher than $40 to $45, you have to be pretty damn good for me to want to try that foundation. So our last foundation is a drugstore foundation, and I sat there with the bottles in front of me going, okay, so I know I'm kind of beige. Let's look at the beiges. Let's see which one fits the skin, and went from there. And I think the color actually was okay, but it's the Wet n Wild Photo Focus foundation. This one is in golden beige, so it's going to be a little off because gold is more orange, but anyway, I don't like this applicator. I would actually just pour it. I use this to, it's got a mirror on the other side, so I use this to do my eyeliner and anything else that needs a palette to be worked on. I don't even use the back of my hand. So I would open this up and I would pour it out. I don't like this applicator at all. It is a loose consistency. Again, a lot looser than I like. A little bit looser than most of the others. The application was fine. It stays kind of tacky until you powder it. It blends out okay. But it's very wet. It's a very wet foundation, and that's one of the things I didn't like about it. You can see the color is a bit off. It's more orangey. It is a medium coverage. It does build well, and you don't feel it once it's powdered. It stays pretty tacky and shiny until it's powdered. Once it's powdered, you don't feel it, and then that's fine. It does have a strong smell, but that smell fades. That smell does fade over time. When I added my moisturizer, however, it started to show off texture. Like I said, it's loose, and I probably shouldn't have tried to add the moisturizer, but I figure if I'm going to put something all over my face, it shouldn't just cover my face. It should actually do something for my face. So that's why I put moisturizer in. And the worst thing, I mean, I probably could have worked around it a little bit with some of these other things, found a way. I have another foundation that actually shows some texture that I have found a way to work around. So I could probably have worked around it, except I think it broke me out. Maybe. Things that broke me out, that could be a culprit for breaking me out, I try not to use after I've broken out. So again, it's another no. I know for a lot of people this is a to die for foundation. It is cheap. It's under $5. It's probably my youngest daughter loves this. The minute I said nope, she said I'll take it. She loves this foundation, and she's a girl who doesn't like to wear foundation at all. But for me, once you break out, forget it. I'm not even going to try it again. So again, another no, but obviously it works on somebody's skin since my daughter likes it. And can't recommend it for me, but who knows? There's a lot of people who love this foundation. Just not me. Anyway, that's it. We're just doing the 5, and I will have 5 more. And I have a few more that I still want to try. High-end and drugstore. And I don't even know what to call the series yet. Hopefully by the time I post it, I'll have something. I'll have it written down below. I will link all of these down below in case you're interested in taking a look at them and seeing if they're right for your skin. And like I said, I will link also Too Much Mouth, so you can go and see her videos if you want to double check any of these. I think she's tried most of them. If not, the only one I don't recall seeing her try, honestly, is probably the Wet n Wild. But that just could be me missing it or not remembering. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen. I hope you've learned something new, gotten some new information, something else you can do, play with, try. And if you have liked what you've seen, I hope you will subscribe and hit that notification bell to let you know when I upload next time. I'm trying to upload twice a week with one Wednesday, on Mondays and Fridays, with one Wednesday in the middle, twice a month. We'll see how that works out, because I'm actually coming up with a lot more videos than I thought I would. In the meantime, you all have a great day, and I hope you come by again and bring your cup of tea.